Okay, let's get started. So my name is Paul Tacey-Green. I am the Sales Director for Cloud and Connectivity here at Amato, and I'm joined here by Tim Anker, who is the Sales Director of Co-location.
Hi there.
So Amato provide what we call the 3Cs, Cloud, Connectivity and Co-location, around the world.
You may not have heard of Amato as it's a fairly new name that came together at the end of last year, but we own and operate one of Reading's largest data centre. And importantly, we think this is also one of the most efficient data centres in the UK, with an operating PUE of less than 1.2. And we'll talk about that more in our talk. Besides owning and operating our own data centre, we're also customers with 15 to 20 other data centres and cloud service providers around the world. So we have a unique insight as both an operator and a customer of other data centres.
And the purpose of this talk today is not to be a sales pitch. It's intended to be quite informative. So we think we've got quite a unique insight that we can share into some things that maybe people aren't considering and maybe really should. So, how often do organisations migrate to a new IT service provider?
Well, in our experience, not as often as they might. And in fact, customers become very sticky in this industry. There are, though, the odd time when people really will consider moving, and the motivations for this move really won't surprise you. They include things like cost or poor service experience, or if there are new features or technologies that come along that their existing provider doesn't supply. We call these compelling events. But because customers are generally so sticky with service providers, it's really important that you make the right decision in the first place, as more often than not you will stay with that service for a very long time. So making the right choice is absolutely crucial. So why are organisations so fearful of moving to new cloud or co-location providers, Paul?
Well, firstly, maybe a migration could be quite distracting. It might take the focus away from critical work, from a client's own client base, and also from growing that business. It can also be risky. The migration may not run smoothly. It may potentially unearth faults in the existing infrastructure that have to be attended to in advance of the migration completing. You may even find that maybe the new provider isn't as good as maybe they said they were going to be. It's also potentially a very costly process. You may need to bring in temporary additional skills from contractors in order to get the system migrated. You may even need to operate two systems running at the same time and consequently have to pay for two providers at the same time.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Amato has a unique viewpoint as both a data center operator and a customer of 20 other data center or cloud service providers around the world. We can tell you from operating our own facility, though, that the two largest costs for a data center operator are power and people.
And these costs consequently represent a really large percentage of the price of your service. So what you really want are for costs of your provider to be controlled and low, and that will tend to mean that your service price will be controlled and low. So, what is PUE? So we're going to look at power here first. PUE stands for Power Usage Effectiveness, and it means that for every 1 unit of power used, it's how much is required to deliver that service, to provide cooling for the service, but also to maintain that resilience. So a data center with a PUE of 2.2 is probably around maybe more than 10 years old, or potentially of a compromised design. Maybe even it's just not that full, and as a result less efficient. So with a PUE of 2.2, what we're looking at here is for every 1 unit of power, 1.2 is expended in delivering that service. And as you can see on the graph on the left here, the power cost for a 4 kilowatt rack would be just over £700 a month. Now the difference in your mind between say 2.2 and 1.8 could be quite small. It's only a 0.4, which is quite a small number, but actually it has a really large impact on the costs. So let's take a look at the data center with a PUE of 1.8, where 0.8 is being expended. That's quite a typical data center in the marketplace, maybe 5 to 10 years old. and your cost there is £578 a month. So it's taken a pretty sizable drop. And then if you look at a data center that's fully optimized in that kind of 1.1, 1.2 region, that'll be a data center using all the latest technologies like indirect cooling, double conversion UPS, but importantly, it's not compromising in uptime. So it would still be using technologies such as full generator preheating to ensure that they're not starting from cold and potentially suffering failures. And the cost of that sort of facility in terms of power is actually half that of an inefficient data center.
Colocation users are usually much more focused on the PUE, as power costs are a more obvious part of their cost and of their bill. But these costs also, of course, affect people who are using data centers, such as an infrastructure as a service provider, software or platform as a service provider. So the underlying cost and efficiencies affect their business model too. An initial low offer may sound like a really good deal, but if it doesn't come from somebody using an efficient facility, how sustainable will that offer be? The other thing to bear in mind is that power prices fluctuate quite a bit, and these of course are driven by the underlying commodity prices in the international markets. The users of inefficient facilities are therefore much more exposed to these changes in power prices than customers using an efficient data center. So there's a lot more risk involved besides just the initial costs that they may be affected more by ongoing changes in power costs moving forward.
Okay, let's take a look at the cost of people.
So there's lots of data centers in the UK and London market where we're based, and we go and use quite a lot of these. We have a lot of first-hand experience, and some of the things we see that make us sometimes worry, for example, are people going around with clipboards taking lots of manual readings of various things. Or, for example, we still use sites where they're still running on Excel spreadsheets for their access lists. And not only does this often introduce errors into the list, but it can cause a lot of delay. And in fact, I was in a site in London last week, and it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get my access card agreed and programmed by the front desk there. And that's just a whole part of inefficiency introduced by poor systems and procedure. On the right-hand side of the graphic there is a graph showing our own revenue and also our underlying personnel costs. And I think what's really important to take away is that even though our revenues are growing, which of course we're really pleased about, it's the fact that the cost of our underlying staff is not going up at the same rate. And I think it's a really good sign to show the benefits, not just from a financial point of view, of being an efficient operator. So
that's specifically because people in our team are tasked with service and support roles. So our approach to maximising the efficiency of our customer service delivery was to develop a market-leading control panel. And we estimate that this approach probably saves us around 30% in human resource costs, which obviously makes us significantly more competitive.
So, our own control panel is called Vision, and it provides both our customers and us as admin with different interfaces. For our clients, it gives them a single pane of glass. It's available anytime, any place, on any device, and means they can access and see all their services. They can also see open tickets and analyze their invoices from us and also their payments to us. So a good sign of an efficient operator would be a high degree of automation in their systems and processes.
And as an example of some of the things that you can automate as a service delivery provider, we're automating everything from dynamic control of the cooling equipment within our data center, and this prevents human error, but also delivers a consistent environment for all of our clients. We provide clients with live power usage monitoring, so we're not requiring people to go around and check levels when our clients want to see them. They can see it 24/7 from within the portal and model future growth as a result. Clients can spin up, manage, destroy virtual machines. So again, being able to manage their infrastructure 24/7 through Vision. One of the biggest problems that we see in the industry is billing. It's really not something that's done very well, and we've completely automated that. Any new orders or upgrades straight from the contract go straight into Vision. All of the billing is credit notes and invoices automatically generated, and it means that upgrades are done quickly, but also really accurately. And we think control systems like Vision should be really like an octopus with tentacles in every part of the business. So our team is able to focus on helping clients. It's how we're able to deliver, for instance, our average 3-minute response time to support tickets. And as a result, it saves us costs and clients costs, but actually it has a tangible improvement on service delivery for our clients as well.
As Paul has just explained, improving the efficiencies of our business means we can provide our customers with the best and highest quality of service. And we really feel that that's an area that matters above all. Having the automation and systems in place allows us also to predict any issues before they become service affecting, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. With the platform in place, we can therefore work much more closely with our customers and understand their challenges, and of course then provide the best solutions for them. This is the thing that humans do best, and it means we can divert our resources to these sorts of tasks. And of course this means the best and of course most effective and in the end most efficient outcome for our customers. To prove the benefit of this approach, I've included some customer references on this slide.
So, if your service provider is inefficient, you're exposed to unstable pricing models for your existing infrastructure, but also uncompetitive pricing upgrades during the initial term of your contract, remember. You're also exposed to receiving less attentive or rushed service because of the extra admin overhead that your service provider is having to go through before kind of handling your request. Also, changes or urgent support requests can't happen as quickly. Ultimately, there's probably no time to tailor a solution for you. Your service provider doesn't have the flexibility and time to be able to consider all the options, to test new technologies and make recommendations in the way that you might like.
Ultimately, if you're with an inefficient provider, the bad news is you're much more likely to have to do another migration in the long run. So even if you're buying cloud or virtualized services, it's really important you ask your potential service provider about the PUE of the data center either they operate or that they use, and what systems and automation that they have in place.
Okay, well, that's everything from us today. Hopefully it was really informative and useful. It's based on the management team's 20 years of experience, so the idea was that it's a bit of an insight into some information around your service providers and how they might operate. If you've got any questions, we'd love to hear them and love to talk you through anything that you might like to discuss.